Hello and welcome to the webinar on the HouseKeeping app. We are going to go over the subset of our MyGuest product that we've called the HouseKeeping app. This has been designed to really facilitate and report on the day-to-day housekeeping functions in Booking Center. It's not an overly complex product, so I'm going to be able to go through it relatively quickly, and hopefully this will give everybody a very good overview of what the product does and why it does what it does. So once you have the HouseKeeping app enabled for your property, you're going to notice that your housekeeping screen, which is in the MyPMS system under the front desk, housekeeping, is going to have some new buttons that are available to everybody. And we're going to start with a very clean setup. In this case right here, you'll notice that every single room in this property is clean, with the exception of a few that have these green buttons called requests. And those are rooms that either need a stayover or a full clean. Those are rooms that need housekeeper observation and work on. And there's two ways that you can get your housekeepers assigned to do these cleaning tasks. You'll notice that, for example, room 104, 107, and 111, they're all part of a group that I have named ground floor. I've just grouped these rooms into a grouping called ground floor. If I have a specific housekeeper that I want to associate and give these housekeeping tasks in a group, then I use the user drop down from the group and I apply that particular housekeeper. And if I click the word request, then what it does is it makes individual requests for all of these specific housekeeping tasks. In this case, you'll notice I clicked at the group level, the green request button, and the user that I chose was a user called the BC Housekeeper. This is just a demo user that we maintain. You guys can go play with this in our demo account. And it says that the rooms have been assigned for cleaning. And so now my housekeeping page refreshes, and it shows me that these rooms have been assigned to the specific housekeeper. And you'll notice that there is a little number next to each one of them. These are those exact housekeeping requests that were just created. So if your staff wants to see who's been assigned, for example, in room 104, to housekeep that, if they just click on this 1873, they will pull up the actual request for this one. In this case, the room was assigned, you can see the status, to the person called Housekeeping Demo. Now, the Housekeeping Demo person is actually cleaning a room that's occupied by a guest named Betsy Twiddale. She's in room 104, and here's her booking number. If I go back to my system, right, and I look at my in-house or my departures right here, here's that Betsy Twiddale in room 104. So what happened was the housekeeping created a request ticket, and it put it in the request system, which we call the HouseKeeping app. Now, I am viewing the HouseKeeping app right here through a web browser. But if this particular user here, this housekeeping demo person, this could be Julie or Jim, if they had a mobile phone, a Mac, an iOS, which is the Apple ecology, or an Android phone, they would have received a little notification, and this request would have been assigned to them. So when they went into their list, they would see that these are those 4 housekeeping requests that they've been assigned to. You can see that they're supposed to clean housekeeping 115, room 111, 107, and 104. And they got assigned these about a minute or two ago, and these are the actual bookings. So as your housekeeper goes in there, he or she can do a couple things. If you're going to use the concept of a supervisory check on your housekeeping, then they might decide to set the room in processing. And what that does is that would have now given and then let's just say that they decide to make let's say Erica is going to be the person who's going to do the supervisory check on this room. If you were to look at the property management system again, you'll notice that now the room 104 has been sent to Erica for inspection. So the status has changed. The person who's responsible has now changed. And instead of a sort of golden assigned, you have a blue inspect. The moment that handoff went from the housekeeper to the inspector also got a notification if they're using an Android or an iOS device. And they would go into this particular request, right? Because this would now be, it's processing here for Erica Johnson. Erica would look at the room. If she's comfortable with the room, then she could just set that room to complete. So that particular request, all she had to do was change one update. And if we go back in the property management system, it was in the inspect state, and now the room is clean. So it got assigned to somebody, that somebody cleaned it. They then assigned it to somebody else to inspect it, and the inspector closed it. It's quite as simple as that under normal conditions. But here, let's track this room 107 as an example of what might happen. So now the same housekeeper now only has 3 tasks that they're dealing with. And let's just say room 107. Let's just say they go into room 107 and things are a mess. Who knows what happened, but it's not looking good, right? And this housekeeper now wants to create a record of what's wrong with this room. Well, a couple ways she could do it. He or she could just put some notes in there. They could say, I walked in and it looked terrible, right? That's one thing they could do. And they could, just basically make a staff-only note right there. But they could also create an incident report. This is a new feature that comes with the HouseKeeping app. If they click Create Incident Report, you'll notice they're going to do it for this particular guest in this room, and this is the specific booking reservation number. So they click Create Incident Report. This is just a very simple incident report template that then opens up. So in this case, I would say something like, broken window, broken beer bottles, who knows whatever incident that they want to sort of report on. And I happen to have saved here a bunch of images. Now, if your housekeeper is creating an incident report and they're using their mobile phone, they would probably be taking these pictures and uploading these from their device. But I'm on a computer, so I'm just going to drop a couple of images here. This particular one can accept up to 5 images. So I'm just going to drop a couple, hotel ugly pictures here on this. And I'm going to say submit the report. So in this case, I'm submitting an incident report. And if I go back to my property management system, and I go into that particular reservation, I think that one was, that one was room 104, was it? I do believe. Yeah. And if I go into the letters area, this right here is what we call the incident report. So that particular incident report was saved with the booking. So we do a timestamp up here, whatever notes your people take, because they can write as many paragraphs as they want. And then, of course, the pictures that sort of supplement and document this particular event. And then down here, we know that the person who reported this came from this internet address on this particular day at this time, and it was in reference to this request 1874, which if I go back to my request, this one right here that I just did, this is an easier way to see what that incident report is 1874. So in this case, I showed you the example of what happens if a housekeeper goes in and wants to create an incident report. All they have to do is click the link, fill in the information, maybe put some images, click save, and then forever, that incident report will be saved with that specific booking. Now, these requests are just basically dealt with in that kind of manner. So in this case, I might decide to put this room out of order. I might keep it in clean. I might do all sorts of things with it, okay, until, that's a lot of mess to clean up right there. But of course, your housekeeper would go on about their business. And, this reservation right here, might go to, processing, and we'll give it back to Erica. So now if we go back into the housekeeping, you'll notice that there is now another one assigned for inspection. We'll go back to that, I think the last one here that we haven't touched here. We'll go ahead and make this one assigned as well. Actually, the housekeeper will note that this is a very minimal work, doesn't even need inspection. The housekeeper is just going to create complete. So on this one, they're not even sending it to an inspector, right? And so on that case right there, that one just gets clean. Erica is notified to do something here. Let's just say that Erica logs in. She decides to look at it and says it's just fine. She would complete it. Or let's say that she wants to assign it back to the housekeeper because the housekeeper didn't conclude something, and she could write another note on here. Look under bed, for example, or whatever he or she wants to do. They can thread this back and forth. And because Erica has now reassigned it to the housekeeper, that housekeeper's list updates now to show that he or she is responsible for that cleaning. And so day to day, these requests get made. They get handed off to different staff. There might be an incident report to record. There might not. And when they're all done with these tasks right here, they complete those tasks. And completing them sets the rooms clean. So your PMS users always can see the status of what's happening. What housekeeper is assigned to what task, and if they want to log in and see any notes or activity on that, they certainly can, or they can just wait for all the rooms to go clean. The use of the iOS or the Android, the mobile app, means that notifications happen whenever these things occur so that your staff is being notified in real time. Of course, one of the key aspects about the system is that it comes with a dashboard. And the dashboard lets you, as an owner or as individual, housekeepers, they get to see who has done what type of work in what time period. For example, today, in the last 7 days, this particular user, the word says housekeeping demo, but this could say Julia here. Davidson is another one. DB Housekeeping, Erica. You can see whose work has been involved in tickets, opening and closing them, and greater than a day. This is kind of a new installation. So our greater than 7 days is not populated with interesting information, but the dashboard focuses on this week, who's doing what, and then it focuses on past weeks, who has done what. So it's a very simple way to look at your your housekeepers in time and vis-a-vis each other. The manager dashboard has a further report that they can do, which is it can be exported to Excel, so you can really look at each individual request to see how much time was spent by each housekeeper on their housekeeping work. So, for example, when the system, in this case, I'm just going to do a single room, right? I'm going to assign it to a different person. I'll do another one of my housekeepers. I'll call it D. Bennett. So in this case, I'm not going to use a group. I'm just going to do a specific individual. This creates a timestamp. The fact that I created a assigned ticket to my housekeeper. When my housekeeper logs in, and I think I have a browser window ready for this particular user here. Okay, yeah, so here's this particular user. When they log in, between the time that they're assigned and the time that they give it to supervisor or they complete it is another time. And so that's basically what you might call the time to clean. And that's where a manager's report might want to list out how long each housekeeper is taking to clean their rooms so that they can, provide additional training or incentivize them or reward them for, excellent work. There's no limit to how many users you can have as housekeepers. Your housekeepers, when they log into their iOS or their Android mobile app, they use the same ID and password they do to log into a property management system, which means they might only have access to 1 or 2 screens in the PMS, but this is their primary tool for using. And you can deactivate, change passwords, etc., just like you do all the other users in your PMS system. So you control the users, they get access as per you giving them permission. If there's any other questions? Well, then I thank you for joining, and you will receive this by email, and we'll be here to support you. So I wish everybody a very good day, and I thank you for your attendance.